Greetings, everyone. Pete Pardo here from Sea of Tranquility. Welcome to the debut episode of Talkin Jazz. This is going to be a recurring show we're going to do on the channel, maybe monthly, maybe bi-monthly. Just simply talking about jazz artists, jazz record labels, jazz albums, that sort of thing. Every episode should have somewhat of a theme. There will be some episodes that are strictly going to be about a particular record label and some of the artists and noteworthy artists and some of our favorite artists on that record label. The next episode of this series will be all about ECM Records that I'll be doing with Ken Golden. There'll be some that will be just centered on a particular artist, and we'll kind of look at their discography and their impact on the jazz scene. So we'll pick a Miles Davis, or we'll pick a Sonny Rollins, or a Thelonious Monk, or whatever it might be, or whoever it might be. And there might be some that'll just be kind of looking at specific albums and things. So it's going to kind of change up from episode to episode. But I think we've had enough interest from, a subset of our viewers who are very much into jazz. And I think this is just a way to kind of talk about jazz in its own context and not have to squeeze jazz into other episodes where you've got people who like prog or metal don't really care about jazz. Right now, this will be the show strictly for that. So we've got a few people who appear on the channel who are very, very much into jazz, and I will be drawing from them to help out with some of these episodes going forward. So today, this is based on, we've had some viewers ask for an episode all about some of these recent CD releases from various jazz labels, and specifically Japanese jazz labels that Ken Golden has been talking about quite a bit on the Professor's Picks, and you've heard me talk about I've bought a lot of these, right? So I wanted to kind of do a little show and tell episode on some of these amazing jazz releases, and specifically Japanese jazz releases, that I think fall under the radar for most people. If you didn't hear about it on Ken's show on the Professor's Picks, you might never hear about any of these albums. But if you are a fan of American jazz and have been listening to jazz and like jazz from the 40s, 50s, 60s, and 70s, and you haven't heard any of this stuff, these will be a treat for you. So again, you should be able to get these out there. Like Ken has had a lot of these in stock over at the lasercd.com quite a bit, but you should be able to go and at least stream and listen to some of these to see if it's something for you. There's a lot of musicians and history with a lot of these, and I'm not going to get too much into the weeds with all the minutia detail, right? But I am going to kind of bring some of these to light and tell you which ones I think are really worth your while and that you should go investigate. So first, because I have the most from this, I'm going to talk about East Wind Records. Now, Ken has been getting a lot of these in recent months directly from Japan, and at first he thought that these were going to be like a one-time only thing, but he's been incredibly been able to get these back quite often. So again, if you are looking for like CD copies of some of these are really good. So the East Wind label, Japanese jazz label, established in 1974 in Tokyo, and over the years they've released quite a few albums, and specifically from 1974 all the way to 1978, I believe. Let me see if any go further back than that. That looks to be kind of the sweet spot for these releases. Yeah. And a lot of, most of them are all Japanese, but you do get some non-Japanese performers, like specifically this Reggie Lucas album, which is called Survival Themes. All right, something I picked up fairly recently, and again, trying to read some of the liner notes on here. But Reggie Lucas, of course, on guitar. Reggie Lucas appeared in Miles Davis's band right around the same time, and this album was released. Let's see, this was in 1975. Okay, so this is Survival Themes. He's got on here, and on a lot of these, you have a mix of Japanese players and American players, right? So Reggie on guitar, you got Hubert Eves on Fender Rhodes electric piano, clavinet, synthesizer. You got Michael Henderson and Anthony Jackson on bass, Howard King on drums, Matume on congas and percussion, Joe Gardner on trumpet, John Stubblefield on tenor sax, or Stubblefield, and Clifford Adams on trombone. So they're mainly an American outfit, but winding up on the Japanese label, right? So we've got, let's see, do I have any others from this particular artist? Yeah, I do have a couple. I'm going to bring them both out here. This guy got stacks of stuff sitting here. So we've got Shunzan Ono, all right, trumpet player. And let's see if I can get release dates for some of these. So this one here is Something's Coming. This is from 1975. Terrific, terrific set. Again, lots of cool players on here. But if you love like Miles Davis, circa like, late 60s, early 70s, highly recommend this as well as the Bubbles album. All right, this is also pretty damn good. And that the Bubbles album is from 1975 also. And I'm trying to think to see if he had any others released on the label. Might have been just those two. Yeah, it looks like just those two. Both excellent. Highly recommend both. Cool covers on these two. Good, funky, jazz rock type of thing. Then we got Kosuke Mine, or Kosuke Mine, however he says his name. And this is called Sun Shower. He also has one called, and I don't believe I have the other one, and that is called Out of Chaos from 1974. So this particular one, and he is a saxophone player, by the way, and this particular one came out in... So Sun Shower, so Solid was in 1975, and then Sun Shower 1976. So they're basically cranking these out pretty damn quickly. And yeah, you got guitar on here. You got obviously bass and drums and various other instruments as well. Really good stuff. I like this quite a bit. Also, we've got Sam Morrison, Dune. This is also quite good. And this particular one came out in 1976. So, of course, Sam, an American player, and he's a sax flute, right? Awesome stuff on this one. Again, love the funky grooves on a lot of these albums. I think these are, it's not just all straight jazz. A lot of this is jazz rock. If you want a really, really fiery, Miles Davis-y sort of trumpet-led session, here is Teru Masahino live in Nomura. Well, Wheelstone. This is terrific stuff. Really good. Some of these live albums, I have a few live albums, really, really good. We've got another one. I seem to have gravitated towards the live stuff from Teru Masahino. This is just called Live in Concert. Also terrific. And you can see just got a wealth of musicians playing with him on this. It's kind of like big bad jazz rock, right? Let's see. We got the great, probably the most well-known player here, saxophone legend Sadao Watanabe, Recital. Great album. He's got a million albums. And I believe this is the only one he did for East Wind. Yeah, I believe so. And this was 1976. We've got the cool ensemble called Kochi. Wishes is the album. So here you've got all sorts of cool folks on here. You got Masabumi Kihuchi. God, I'm butchering these. On keyboards. Teru Masahino is on trumpet on here. You've got Steve Grossman on soprano and tenor sax, right? So you got some American players on here. You got Dave Liebman on soprano sax and flute. You got Reggie Lucas on guitar, Anthony Jackson on bass, Al Foster on drums, and Matume on conga drums. So, as you can imagine, a lot of these albums, released in just a short span of time, a lot of the sessions were happening concurrently with each other. So you had players that were going and playing on each other's albums all the time. So you'll see a lot of these guys that frequented the Eastwind Records roster for those couple of years. They appear on a lot of these records. So there's like a kind of like a consistent quality all throughout them. This is really good. This is kind of like in a silent way, Miles Davis, if you like that. I think you'll dig that quite a bit. Let's see. We got Mikio Masuda, sorry, Mickey's Mouth. And let's see, what year was this? Mickey. Yeah, I don't know. I forget it's right around that time, 1976 actually. And so here you got the man himself on all sorts of keyboards. You've got guitar on here. You got bass. You got percussion and soprano saxophone by Kazuki Mine. Good stuff. Also a really strong album. And then I've got two from Ryo Kawasaki. Another really good player. And these two albums, I guess you need both of them. And these are I believe both 1975, maybe one's 1976. You got the great Prism album, which is really good. And again, Ryo is a guitar player. And again, this is more of like the jazz rock sort of thing, but still really, really strong. And a lot of great players on these albums. So you've got, let's see, Herb Bushler on electric bass, Buddy Williams on drums, Steve Terry on percussion, Abdullah on percussion, and you got Phil Clendenin on all sorts of keyboards. Really fun album if you're into the more guitar oriented. So that is the Prism record, and then there is also the 8 Mile Road album, which is also really good. Again, from more guitar dominated. So you've got your fair share of like sax players here, trumpet players, keyboardists, and guitar players who are kind of like highlighted on the East Wind label. But that's not all. I mean, there's plenty of other artists that appeared on this label. Tsuyoshi Yamamoto, Andrew Hill, who else? Al Haig, Sheila Jordan, Hank Jones, David Friedman, Ronnie Matthews, Air Pocket, the man Air Pocket. You got Art Farmer, did some stuff with East Wind. Cedar Walton, Ann Burton, Masahiko Takashi, Dollar Brand, LA4, also did a couple of later ones. The Great Jazz Trio also appeared on this label. So you had a fair amount of notable artists outside of the U.S. or outside of Japan. And then some of the more, popular of the Japanese artists. So again, for American audiences, a lot of this might be fairly new. All right, let's go over to the Three Blind Mice label. So this is another Japanese label, started up in June of 1970, and this was more a label trying to bring to light some of the new artists coming up on the scene. And they had a ton of releases, way more on this label than what we saw on East Wind. And these also go up into, the 2000s. So we've seen quite a lot of releases starting from the early 70s all up to, later date. One of the kind of really cool bands on the scene is Tea and Company. All right, again, really good ensemble stuff here. You've got, let's see. Takao, I'm gonna butcher these names, folks. It's just I'm gonna butcher the names, and they're so tiny on the CDs. I almost need a microscope here. But you basically got bass, drums, percussion, electric guitar, piano, electric piano, soprano sax, and tenor sax. So it's like a big band type of jazz rock. So you got Sonnet, you've got Spanish Flower, and you got Dragon Garden. All really noteworthy. Other stuff that I picked up here, you've got Isao Suzuki Quartet +1. And here you have Isao Suzuki on electric piano, Hammond organ, and things, other stuff. Kazumi Watanabe, electric guitar. Kazumi kind of pops up on a bunch of things throughout this catalog. You got Osamu Kawakami on bass, and Shinju Mori on drums, along with Akira Ozawa on electric bass. So you got electric and acoustic bass on here. So that's this one right here. Then we got this really interesting album called the Masaru Imada Trio +2 Green Caterpillar. This is just weird, bizarre stuff. There's like chanting on here and just tribal percussion, and it's jazz, it's avant-garde, it's all sorts of stuff here. And here you got Masaru Imada on piano, Isu Fukui on bass, Tetsuhiro Obara on drums, Kazumi Watanabe on guitar, and Yuji Imorua on congas and percussion. Cool but bizarre album. Really like it. We've got Teru Nakamura Group, Unicorn. Again, a host of players on here. Steve Grossman's on here. Hubert Eaves is on here. Who else? Lenny White plays on here. Any other names here that you might be familiar with? And then a lot of the other Japanese players, which a lot of we've already mentioned so far. Charles Sullivan's on here. Teru Nakamura obviously plays on the entire album. And of course, he appears on every track, of course. And let's see, anybody else here? And he's a bass player, by the way, just in case you wanted to know. So there you have a bass-led album. Also here we've got Kenji Mori Quartet, Firebird. So again, you might see some familiar faces here. You've got Kazumi Watanabe on guitar. You got Nobuyoshi Ino on bass, Steve Jackson on drums, and Kenji Mori on flute and sax and recorders. Cool stuff. And then the last one I have here is the album Air. Another kind of little super group of all sorts of people on here. Another cool but somewhat weird album. I dig it though. A lot of players, very airy, very kind of avant-garde-ish in spots, kind of jazz rock, kind of straight jazz. And then I've just got some odds and ends here. So a couple things from King Records. We've got Motohiko Hiro Quartet at Numa Jazz Inn called Toko. Getting this from King Records. And it's just basically some 3 big long tracks recorded in 1975. I just picked this up recently. This is Isao Suzuki and the New Family, plus Shigeharu Mukai and Toshiyuki Honda, Mongolian Chant. Again, just 5 long tracks on here. You know, you got guitar and keyboards and bass, and yeah, good stuff. Over on the, I guess this is 357. This is Mike Longo, The Awakening. Mike Longo on electric piano. You got James Moody. You got Virgil Jones. You got Curtis Fuller, Alex Gaffa, Ron Carter, Mickey Roker, Dizzy Gillespie plays some congas on here. So Mike Longo, The Awakening. Shelly Mankind. Shelly, of course, a drummer. Right. Also on here, you've got Gary Barone, John Gross, John Morell, Mike Wofford, Jeffrey Castleman, and Brian Moffat. This is quite good. More and more in the jazz rock vein. How about Masabumi Kiguchi and Gil Evans? Also very cool. This is a little more orchestral sounding, but very, very cool. Kiguchi is on electric piano. You got Gil Evans does the arranging and plays ring modulator. You got Billy Harper on all sorts of things. Marvin Peterson's here too. And you got a mix of original Gil Evans songs and some covers. You got Carla Bly tunes on here. This is very, very cool. The Isao Suzuki Quartet +2, Orangutan. This is Isao Suzuki on bass, cello, and piano. You've got Kenji Mori on alto sax and clarinet and flute. You got Kazumi Watanabe once again on guitar. Osamu Kawakami, God, these names are killing me, on bass. You got Shinji Mori on drums and Mari Nakamoto on vocals on a couple tracks. I could have done without the vocals on that particular one, but Teru Masahino, Double Rainbow. Awesome, might be my favorite Hino album. This is quite good. You got folks on here like Hino's on here, Masabumi Kikuchi, Gil Evans is on here, Herbie Hancock, Kenny Kirkland, Steve Grossman, Anthony Jackson, Harvey Mason, Lenny White, Airto Moriera, and some others. This is really good. This was one of my favorites out of this. Everything you see here. Let's see, what do we got here? This is Masabumi Kikuchi Quintet, End for the Beginning. And this is a Universal release. Right, the next couple are Universal. Here we have the Masabumi Kikuchi Sextet, Reconfirmation. These kind of like all go together. And then last you got Masabumi Kikuchi Pusan. All three of these from him are on the same Universal label. Well worth getting. And lots of cool people here. You know, you got the list of stuff, people who are on here. Kosuke Mine's on here, Ichikawa's on here, Akita, Hino's on here, Murakami's on here, Kishida's on here. Most of these are all-star affairs, really good. And then last but not least, I want to show this off, and this kind of doesn't belong here in this discussion because this is not Japanese, but Charlie Mariano, Reflections. Another cool thing, I just threw this out here because I picked it up. I got this around the same time I got a lot of these. And this is from 1974. And this features, let's see who we got on here. Charlie Mariano on alto sax, soprano sax. We got Eero Koivistoinen on tenor sax, Hukka Talonen on guitar, Ali Avenlati on piano, electric piano, Esko Lanvali on piano, Penti, Haitanen on piano, Pekka Sarmanto acoustic bass, Heikki Virtanen on electric bass, Esko Rosnell on drums, Reno Lani on drums, and Sabu Martinez on congas and percussion. So obviously this is Finnish jazz rock, not Japanese, but I just wanted to kind of mention at the end because I had it lumped in with all these. I wasn't expecting to talk about it today, but I just pulled them all out. So there you have all sorts of stuff. Again, this is the type of music you have to go out and experiment and listen to. You know, me trying to explain what all these are like, they're all really fiery. There's great stuff on here, but you have to love this sort of thing. And again, you can dive a little deeper into, you know, all who plays on these and whatnot and explore their individual music, because that's the thing. A lot of these players, they appear on each other's albums and then they do their own albums and people appear on their albums, and there's like this cross-pollination across the majority of these specific catalogs, but specifically these artists. So like I said, if you like jazz, but really you only know the bigwigs of the American scene, right? You know Wayne Shorter, you know Miles Davis, you know John Coltrane and Charlie Parker and Sonny Rollins and Thelonious Monk and Hank Mobley, and you know, and we're going to cover a lot of those in this series. But if you know Freddie Hubbard, and I mean, you know all the big names, right? If you really haven't explored anything outside of the American jazz scene, this stuff is going to be a revelation to you. I've really enjoyed a lot of this stuff in the recent months because, again, it's just opened my eyes up to all these other amazing players who we never really heard about here much at all, if at all, right? So I never even knew most of this existed. So, yeah, that's our first episode of Talkin' Jazz. And like I said, next episode in just a couple weeks, I'll have Ken Golden on with me, and we will be talking about the ECM Records label and some of the mainstays on the label over the years. It's been a long-running label, and some of our favorite albums on the label, right? And kind of like what the ECM sound is really all about. So that'll be coming up in just a few weeks. Till then, visit us on the web at www.seaoftranquility.org. We're on Facebook, we're on YouTube all together. All the damn time. Please subscribe if you haven't already and click on that notification bell so you get alert of all of our content as it posts. And please do hit the like button before you leave. Also down below we got the links to our Ko-Fi page for channel donations, our merch page, our Cameo page, and the Sea of Tranquility membership options all down below. Thanks in advance for all your support there. It's greatly appreciated. And I'll see you soon here with more stuff. I am Pete Pardo. Have a good one, everybody. Take care.